will be able to actually revive our spirit, our PPP spirit a little bit, lift it a little bit, and so therefore we will start, of course, first of all with a recap team, and the recap team today are Angela, Ariadne and Marta. So and then afterwards, Rita will do with us a team building exercise. So this is how we work this morning, and then I come back to you and give you some information about the day.
Perché facciamo una roba di movimento.
I will say a statement, okay? And if it's true for you, you should change your seat and to go not next to the two next to you. Okay, so you should move in the place here. Okay. Okay. No, okay. I will say a statement.
Se quella per te devi cambiare di posto.
Ma non Nicola a fianco.
Non Nicola, So, I would like to move the people who are blonde.
No.
Next.
No,
you should go to the center.
But because I couldn't go to the next, so yeah,
Io sto sapevo se era bionda.
Let's move people who had a great breakfast.
Let's move people with grey shirts.
From the municipality, from the Catalonia, from the European Union, from the province of Barcelona, province in English. And also they take facilitators from Yacht Center in Barcelona, and another organization cooking for there. The strategy was because they have a lot of contact. For example, people that work in this project was in the youth center, and this is the contact. From the municipality, they take money about with the ordinary line, and the same for from the European Union.
Through applications. Okay.
And about follow-up,
Yes.
It's formal.
So evaluation reports and stuff like that. Yeah.
In these two cases, yes.
So was it interesting for you? Did you learn
yes.
something?
It's very interesting.
Yes. Good. Someone else who wants to share what he or she learned? Yes.
Because I think that Janina has some personal magic to tell some story. I think so. And I think that this kind of exercise is useful for me because when you are listening some good practice, the exercise or examples of good practice, it's the best way how to understand what's going on. And Janina told me the story about a project who was interested in bring some informal education to the formal education in some ways, and the project started with what I put it to my mind is that the first step it is to find the correct person. That means that she already has some partners, but they made a research and find that the headmaster of the company is interested in the same way on formal education and put it to the formal education. So after the research, they can or they asked this individual person, the headmaster of the company, and they came up with they are sharing the same ideas. So this is the how they did start, and about how much she said some funds, but I couldn't imagine is it big or not, but it's big. If it is big or not, so maybe I.
Because it's in Romanian?
No, but for my imagination, I don't know if it is big or not.
Okay.
So don't tell it about it. And about the follow-up, because they are interested in same IDs, and now they give them the reports. They start to be maybe partner for a long time. So yes, it was good. And
So-
I like it.
Very interesting for you,
Yes.
yeah? Great. Thank you very much. Who else wants to share?
I wouldn't mind
Yes,
to share
yes,
because
yes.
actually Alessio from Ibenga told me his story of fundraising for the operational plan of Ibenga. Ibenga is a local site, and it's about the money for the operational plan, for the implementation of the operational plan. And they tried to get from the regional foundation, Imari, 10,000 euros. At the end, they succeeded for this year getting 17,000. So it was also an increase. And what I found very interesting is, first of all, they work in a team. It's not one person who's doing this, but the team, the local coordinator, for example, made the contact, but then the other team members came in. And they also involve some young people, but usually older than 18 upwards, who are also in the local support group and are aware of the fundraising issue, so to speak. What is interesting about the strategy, that this group had first in capacity building provided by YEP Italia, and it was from the internal resource of YEP Italia, people who are members of YEP Italia who have some experience in fundraising. There's one or two people in particular. So that was very helpful as a starting point. And how they do it then, in this case, after the contact was made, that they then submit the proposal of the project that they want to do, or the projects, and also a budget, of course, to make clear which budget line it is, how much they want to have. And then when they get it awarded, they usually send then also a synthesis of what had happened and how successful this was, and then also the financial, of course, the budget and how used the finances. But what was really interesting, Alessio said that they would like to have also more personal contact to this foundation, and because they're so proud of what they have then achieved with the money which they gave them, that they would like to present it to them personally, in a personal contact, but this wasn't possible so far. But they're still working on it, and they have the idea to make a video, which would be also partly done in the offices of the foundation. So the filming will be made partly in that foundation's office. So they hope via this filming that they would get into a more personal contact with the foundation Imari, and that they could build on this personal contact then a little bit on. And they also get, of course, other funding, for example, from the big foundation, the Compagnia di San Paolo, but also from the local municipality in Ibenga. So it's a part in a larger budget. They got, the budget is altogether 56,000 and 17,000 from this particular foundation.
Great.
I hope this.
Thank you very much. Other people want to share? Yes.
Okay. We talked with Ferdinando about fundraising. It was for a project that the name was Corneliano Mon Amour. That was a music festival, a hip hop festival, and it was Sinevi. It was happened for 5 years. It was happening for 5 years, and for the first 4 years, they received money and a contribution from Foundation of Sao Paulo. But the 5th year, they didn't give them, so they should find some money to do the event, this local event. So. There were 4 ways that they received money. The first was the crowdfunding. The crowdfunding is when you put your project in a website and you ask for people to give you money, to donate you money. They give to a web provider to create this campaign and to describe exactly what the project was. For example, the keywords that they were inside was about youngsters, that is organized by youngsters. It was a social contribution, it was a social event, but it wasn't so successful because this web designer, that he's specialist, he sent it to different people through mails, through social media. He advertised it a lot. But the result wasn't so successful, and they received only 800 euros from this crowdfunding campaign. The second one was micro events. So this was some music events that the youngsters organized, and they received money because they asked when they organized the events, do you want to donate? Come to donate. So it was in this moment that the event was happened. And this was the most successful because there was interaction with people, so the people were more willing to offer with a service that the young people offered, that was an entertainment. The third one was the shop in the neighborhood. So the youngsters went to some shops and they asked, we organized this event. Would you like to give us something, to provide us something to support? And it was the second best, the second in the list. The other was the organization has a lot of cooperation with municipality, and they asked for municipality to offer some space to do the event. Also, they have also some free services for some people. For example, that you will offer the electricity. You will offer for us, you will make, for example, a discount because it's a social event. So it was also a fundraising, and in the end, they gathered 4,000 euros, and it was really successful. And in the end, that also the people that came to sing to the hip hop festival, they wasn't paid. And for example, the guest star, the first name, the youngsters asked to him not to be paid. So it was really successful, and in the end, they sent emails to the people that donate through website, to the people that the organization had their emails, and the people who didn't have their emails, they sent letters to thank them by post. This.
Great. So that was a combination of many different strategies, many different funders, and super. Good example, yes. Did you learn something here?
Of course.
Yeah.
It was really useful.
Super. Other people want to share? Marta? If you want. You don't have to. We're not at school. So
a youngers proposed to do a concert. This concert where the artist is supposed to be girls, and they apply an application from the state, and it was quite easy, but because they gave it 25,000 euros, but they have to reformulate the applications sometimes to add more information and the budget and the operative plan, and they do the application, and the youngsters do it with all the company, and about the evaluation, they did an evaluation according the goals. The state sent to them the formula, formula, and they do it the formulary with all the youngsters.
Great.
And that's it.
Yeah, good chunk of money, 25,000 euros.
Yeah.
And that was only one part,
Yeah.
because I choose just to talk about. Maybe I misunderstood that.
Right. Great. Another group? Veronica? Yeah? You want to share what you learned?
Maybe not all project, but
The most important point?
the most important
Yeah.
points I think is that in Romania, maybe in the others, are a problem that some sponsors want to just give money to help publicity, but there is no interest on work. Yeah, from this project was about open center for make therapy for people who is in existential crisis, and on the event there was 11 people, person telling their stories, and one of these people became a sponsor because they know what therapy is for. They have experience with their work, and because of it they want to help. But it was only one, and the others was just because of publicity, and it maybe works once, twice, but maybe this is the problem. If big companies or sponsors don't understand what are you doing.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's sometimes a challenge where private sector or companies are usually, it's a win-win thing where they say, okay, I give you money, but I want my logo, or it's kind of a publicity tool for me. But then there's also a lot of companies who are really interested in the essence of what you do. I mean, it depends, but if you want to generalize, it's probably often the case for companies.
Yes,
it's kind of where it's often kind of a sponsorship rather than a partnership, depending on the situation. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to adjust what Ari said and what now you have said. I was thinking with Angelica, and we didn't talk about something specific, a specific program, but she told me about the methodology. The conclusion was that in order to find someone to give you money, you do not need for a sponsor, but for a fundraiser, which is different. She explained me the difference. The sponsor wants his logo on the event. The fundraiser wants to be inspired from your idea. So you need to find many small companies in your local area and less big companies. And your program has to be, the company has to be small, your project has to be specific and in the local place. So you have more opportunities to collect money from someone who is inspired from your project.
I get the same conclusion from her experience, the same of yesterday, the festival, the music festival. They collect more or less 800 euro in kind, in services, by 6 different companies or bar or restaurant, hotel of the
Very little company.
very little company, yes, but of the community. And our conclusion was that sometimes you have just to ask. And I made the experience in Build Your Future. After Build Your Future, we made the so-called entrepreneurial labs, inviting some companies or stakeholders of the community to present the project the young people made after the training. And it happens that two people gave 100 euros each, 1,000 euros each, 2,000 euros to finance 2 different projects. So I didn't expect surprising. So sometimes it's enough to ask. You have to just to ask.
Great. Do you? I mean, everybody share? No, I think yeah. Is this something you want to do more, to learn from the others how they do, for example, fundraising, but also, for example, partnership? Yesterday we talked about strategies to find partners. There is, of course, in this program the possibility for more exchange, but we can't meet every week, obviously. But what we do in Build Your Future in this project, for example, is like a very regular webinars. It's like a 1-hour slot of a conference call where some sharing takes place. I mean, if this is something you would like also to have and to do, we can do this very easily, and we can make it really on themes, on topics. We can make a webinar on the topic partnership, and we can listen to either one person who gives some best practice, or we can have different people sharing their experience. This is one possibility. We could also have other ideas, and it's up to you. We could also do some videos. You could do a video of yourself and tell a story, and we could share it on this platform, our website, or in the Facebook group, in the Facebook page. I mean, there's many possibilities, but it's also up to you to tell us if you want some more exchange in this kind, and we can do it. Rita is nodding, or because she will then have to upload all this stuff on the internet.
Well, it's not.
Yes.
I think it's not only a matter of uploading, which is already
No,
a big
absolutely.
word, of course. But don't know. I personally, I'm not so sure that this kind of means are useful. But maybe I'm old, so the only thing I've learned about this is that an animator is needed, because if you expect that people will spontaneously say, "Oh, what will I do today? Oh, okay, I will share my experience on the website with the it won't happen. Simply, it's not because people don't want to do it or is not interested, but because life is running.
Yes.
So if there is somebody who is doing this job, which is a job, a continuous job, to animate such kind of tool, I think it can
Well,
work. Otherwise, I'm personally doubtful about this.
Yes, that is why it is our job to do this, and it is a very different. As you say, let's do a video today about. It's very unlikely to happen. But if there is a webinar on the topic fundraising, where there is even a speaker, an expert, why not, or someone from our group who has a story to tell, and people are invited. It's an hour slot. You can't do webinars for 3 hours, you know, people fall asleep. But there's a slot of an hour many people usually have an hour to in their working day, and then if you can't, because you're in a meeting or whatever. But this can be organized. It is never the same value than a face-to-face meeting. This is obvious, but I mean, it's just added value, and it can be done, and we are very happy to do it. And we've done it in other programs, and it was even foreseen anyway in this program, so that after each P there would be a coaching or webinar. But I'm asking that question also because we don't have to have all the answers now, but we are happy to adapt this, to make even a webinar per topic, on really hot topics, partnerships, fundraising, whatever. And fundraising is anyway a big thing because we have all fantastic ideas, but very often the frustrating thing is that the money is not there or the resources are not there, and it's not always that easy to get them. And I think maybe through peer learning, peer sharing, it can be of added value, and we are happy to introduce elements in the program. Does it make sense? Is it of any interest? Yes? No? Okay. I'm not sure if it was a yes or no, but it was a silence. So we will make proposals. I wonder now, do I have only 15 minutes, or
Yes.
can I make it half an hour?
No, half an hour.
In half an hour. So I'm not even going to start a new topic today. It's not worth it. Yes,
May I
tell
ask
me.
a question,
Yes.
which is still linked with the fundraising and income generation
Yes.
for the project, which is this one. Is the difference between YEP as it was and it is and PPP? And I'm not sure I understand how do you think it could work. Usually when a website, a YEP site is started, you are at least in Italy, you are writing a memorandum of understanding between the foundation, the municipality, YEP Italy, so that going to the topic that is income generation, that you will be able to apply for the money for your operational plan to the foundation, some small thing, it depends, maybe to the municipality as well a little, or
Yes.
it leaves the space, it depends. Anyway, you already start your project knowing that there will be the budget to do the project. Maybe you ask for 20 and they give you 10, it doesn't matter. But so you are able to plan, to finish your planning. Well, first of all, to set up the group, of course, then the group plans, and as soon as you have your operational plan done, finalized, you put it into practice. You write a budget, you have a clear budget, you submit this budget to those who already have signed that they agree on YEP, so that you will, as soon as you have a plan, you will go and implement it.
Yes.
Which is important for young people, for instance, because if you have a gap between, okay, we have a nice project, but then we don't know if we can do it, if we will have the money, you will lose the group with the not doing, because you know what. So in this case it's different, because there is
Exactly.
no budget at all for the action. So I was wondering, I don't have any answer, but I wanted just to think about it with you. How does it work?
Well, basically there is one methodology in Italy, which is what are the steps to set up what we call a YEP local site. So first, the criteria is that the municipality needs to be on board, etc. And there, as you just explained, there needs to be. But this is the way, and it's a way which is working very well in Italy. which is very different, as you say, to this context. In this context, the starting point is a context of a Erasmus Plus project, which you all know. It's the cycle, it's steps, and there's a beginning and the end. And and we talk about it tomorrow more. The ambition here is to, from youth initiatives to community hubs, you know, and we will talk about this more. But the context of having this project of 2 years is obviously very different to what you just described of setting up a YEP local site. However, what we're trying to do is to bring the YEP approach and methodology based on this cycle of change into this community and work, train, coach, and work with this approach and methodology in these communities. With the problem with a different context, with a different setup, a different setting than a YEP local site in Italy, clearly. Okay, there is money through the project Erasmus Plus for the intellectual outputs, for the management fees, etc. And it's obviously it's not huge money, but there is for each partner that kind of money to do this work. But we also know that there is so much more you have to put into it than the money you get. So that is very, very different context, and that is, I think we mentioned this yesterday. You know already that there is money. If you have a project in your operational plan, you know that there's money to implement it in Italy. In this context, this is why this is so important. The fundraising aspect is you don't have necessarily that money in your drawer to implement, and the question of how am I going to finance this farming project in Bulgaria is a very, very big question. So it has to be part of the whole designing of the operational plan. How can we finance this project? You know, and a lot of organizations in this project do have funding resources. I don't know them by heart. We have to look case by case. How are you run your projects in Romania? What are your sources, strategies to get funding for projects? And then we have to see how this can also be utilized for this project and for the implementation of projects based on an operational plan. Same thing for Slovakia, for Spain. This has to be looked at case by case, but this is very obvious. This is totally different to your situation, and it is an additional challenge, of course. Yeah, clearly. But this is I don't know if anyone wants to add something to this. I mean, it's also for any. I mean, maybe to banalize the difference. You do already projects in the other countries, I mean, but what you're doing maybe now is to try to do it through a methodology which is maybe new to you, and the question of how am I going to finance my project was there before. It's going to be here now, and it will be there tomorrow. So it is a big question for any projects in the communities. So yeah, and this is why I think this can be very also useful to go deeper and share more knowledge, strategies. I mean, it was very exciting to listen to the example from Bacau, where they do these swimathons and marathons. This was very new to many of us, how they raise funds in this way. And there's other ones. It's a individual question in each community, the funding question. Any other thoughts on this? No? Just what? Worries, yeah. I mean, yeah, this is.
Yeah, because I mean, in that community that we
Yes,
went
the
to,
villages, yeah.
yeah, in those villages, I think, I mean, the purpose of this whole project, I think it is to find resources in that community, you know. I think it will be a big struggle to, not to find money necessarily, but to get people involved. So I think, I don't know, maybe I will be surprised, but I think we have to start with resources from outside community first to create an example. I think this is what we will do at some point. So we can motivate by example the people from that community to get involved during the process. But I think the process we have to start it with somebody outside communities, finances.
It was an example, if you remember, last year, some Sumaton, they are coming there.
We tried.
Yeah. I was there last year on a project, a different project, and we have to fundraising for 10 scholarships. So we make an initiative group from that villages, and they have to. I and Janina do the whole work.
They had to come to Sumaton and follow the same thing, you know, to make swimming teams and to come and swim and get people involved to donate, you know. They too much information for them, no. So we made the swimming team. We found financer. We did all their job, you know. But after that, we were like, phew, we managed, and but we brought them with buses. So we rented buses, we went there, we put them in the buses, and we brought them to Sumaton there in the moment and explained every 5 minutes, look, that man is swimming for you, so you can have your scholarship. Isn't it amazing? Yeah. And we were trying to get them involved, at least in this way, you know, because it was the only experience they will take from.
This year.
Maybe this year, they understood what I was screaming last year. So this year, if we make, but we have to create examples.
Yeah, I mean, just one example is also, and every situation, every community has a different local context. I mean, one example is maybe the YEP site in Slovakia. I mean, there was some funding from a foundation, but they have been extremely successful in fundraising and in many different ways, applications, crowdfunding, I mean, events, and they have been extremely, and I can tell you they don't have a lot of money in these villages. They are very often, many of these people are living in settlements, no running water or electricity, there's really poverty, and there's not huge money in this community, but they've been doing for many years now, and on that point, on the fundraising and being creative of also, it's not always about money, it's also about the resources, you know. Very often people, they put a project and they say, oh, we need 10,000 euros, and we don't have them. So, but in reality, if you look into what kind of resources you can maybe get elsewhere and differently, maybe you don't need 10,000 euros, you only need 5 or 3. And this is just an example in Slovakia, but there's many, and this is something where we can also, on an individual basis, work with the different communities to see what is the situation and how we can consult, help, whatever. It's an individual challenge. And it's a big one in even what you're already doing today. You know, it's not gonna be bigger tomorrow with this PPP project. It's just the fundraising is always a big one. Yes, Ferdinando?
No, just say that so it's complicated. I think all these things because to generate income generation, money, and so on is not easy. I think that the main problem is that probably generate your worry about the future the situation is that to make a fundraising action is important before to create a condition, to create a relationship inside the local community. And because otherwise it's not possible. You can use all the techniques that you want, crowdfunding, application, but if you don't create a relation in the local community, you are not recognized and you will not obtain anything. No? Because I explained that about the festival Mon Amour in Cornigliano and so on, but we obtained that achieved the results because we were there for 5 years before, because we organize other festivals, we organize other activities, and so the local community said, oh, they are YEP, no? They are the local supergroup, they are the youngsters of the local community, and so on. So the difficulty is to arrive there and say, now I would like to make fundraising because I'm beautiful and nice and so on. So we have to, I think it's important to create the precondition to then make what you said before. But this is not easy because you can do this in 2 days.
Yeah, but this is what I mean. I mean, this is why nobody here starts from zero. I mean, in Bacau, it's the Community Foundation of Bacau. They've been there for not so many years, but they have been doing work not since yesterday afternoon. So, so it's not, and that's the same for the other organizations in the community. They are not yet sites, but they've been there doing work and doing also projects and are recognized in the community.
Not in that community. In that community,
In that new one, yeah. In the villages, this will be
nobody.
yeah. So
this makes it important who is in the local stakeholder circle, because who's a person or a group or an organization or whatever that the community can trust, so that you say, okay, they are in. But it's complicated because it goes together. The building of the group and the looking for resources. So and there is, well, this is why my main question is, which is the vision of all this, which is lacking in here. I mean, when I say it's only to have a term of comparison. I don't want to put it in the middle necessarily, but I know that when we start a project, we have a clear vision and we propose it to people who are coming to the group. So we want to get there. This is the vision, not the actions, of course, and not the vision of change of the place, because this is built with the group. But what we want to achieve, to have a group who is growing up, to have a project which is not going to finish, to have an end. It's not 1 year project, 2 years project, but a process which is improving. So this is the vision. If you are interested, okay, come on board. But in this moment, I can't see so clearly the vision of PPP. And so once each of us go back, we propose to people what exactly, which is important, otherwise it's difficult that people say yes, no, maybe I try.
You wanted to say something?
Well, no, that's no different question. I can say this later.
Okay.
I think it's important, of course, to have the vision and to know where it goes.
No, I think it's essential, not important.
Yeah, of course, it's essential, but I think we have worked on
because we cannot convince those stakeholders to join if we show the operational plan or the situational analysis. We have to, as you are saying, we have us to understand the direction and the vision, and so we can take it to give it further.
Yes.
Also with stakeholders, with team, with what she said.
Yes.
But, I mean, in a sense, it is about when you. Our vision is that you obviously want to actually work with with other people who have an interest and a motivation in addressing some of the problems which are in that community and wanting to help them to overcome these problems, to change something for the benefit of the people, of the young people and of the citizens. I mean, this is a very broad vision, but I mean, this is somewhere where it goes. And if that is not the case, I mean, if there is not, we always said also in Nieppe when we started working with local sites, with certain communities, of course there need to be a need for that. Otherwise you actually won't get anybody on board. Possible. But if there are some problems, and then you can also say, well, we don't start from nothing. We had the opportunity now through this Erasmus Plus project that we actually develop something together, a project which we would like them to do in our community and that they benefit from that. It's where we start from. That is what we have got. And you have got additional funds. We have got some funding that we could do all this work. Has nothing to do with the money from the Commission only. We also have money from foundations that the FIRC team can do these things. But there is a starting point. And I also agree with you that you need to have some preconditions. We have to think about this a little bit more. But the starting point is that we have got the opportunity through this project now to start this process and to support communities in doing this themselves.
Yes, and just on the vision, I mean, let's also take back what this is all about, in the sense that the vision of this project, which again, the objective would be not to have only 2 years, but to continue with this methodology. But the vision of the project is in the title. It's in the title. From youth initiatives to sustainable community hubs. This is the big ambition, okay? And the idea of that is that we have a youth club, a youth center, or youth initiatives even. If there's no club or center and you meet under a tree, I mean, it's not so much about the building where you sit, but this is the starting point, and it's an exercise I want to do tomorrow where you reflect on this. But the ambition here is that this is already there today. You already do work with young people. You do have a youth club or youth center. You do work on youth initiatives. And the ambition is that with this cycle of change, with this methodology, working with young people and local stakeholder circle, that place or these initiatives transform somehow into a community hub. And that is for each of us to define what do we want this community hub to look like, what do we want this community hub to do, and what kind of activities. But what we can already say is that through this process, and because it's so community oriented, we're trying to solve issues. Okay, this youth initiatives or center looks at, through the situational analysis, what are the issues we could react to. So the projects are always based on needs in the community and issues. So responding to community needs. We also know that it will, since there's such a focus on partnerships, there will be new partnerships which will develop between this group of young people and stakeholders in the circle, stakeholders in the community. So if we work with this approach, we know that in 2 years there is very likely to be new partnerships in the community. We also know that the sustainability aspect will be addressed, and we talk about projects and this fundraising or the resources and how to implement activities and projects is addressed. New activities in this club or through these initiatives, which could, as we said, develop into kind of services. They could fill gaps in the community. Maybe a project idea is about needs in the community which is not fulfilled, which is not addressed through other services. So filling gaps. It is also very much about capacity building and learning. I mean, there's a lot of training, there's a lot of there's workshops, there's coaching, and young people and local stakeholder circle are very likely to be empowered through these trainings and learn and gain capacity. We also have this social entrepreneurial aspect which is important and which could be one of the results through this cycle and this project, where the group thinks more entrepreneurial when implementing projects. And there is a lot of material available, and we can also, while we go and visit, while we go and train and coach in the communities, where we can get people fit on this topic. And then obviously the empowerment aspect. So there's a lot of things we already know which are very likely to be either direct effects, results, or side effects which will happen through this process. And then is this community hub going to be a youth club which then also does funky projects in terms of services for the community? Will it be a learning center maybe, where that is up to each community to see how they will look like, these community hubs. And they will look probably different in Slovakia than in Spain. But these elements, I think, are very likely to happen, and the definition of your community hub in your community will be different from one place to another. So this is this is what we will see at the end of the process, how this will have developed. But the vision is this kind of transformation, or the youth club becomes a youth club 2.0, which does the same thing with the same activities, but something more community oriented, open to needs, having a situation analysis where they can react to needs, etc., etc. So the vision is very much this, and then again, it doesn't stop in 2018. It can stop, but that's not the idea. The idea is also now that there is an approach and methodology which is actually very interesting, which is strategic, which is long-term based, can continue. And we also don't know how that will continue, but this would be definitely be the ambition, that it is not just a project which stops there. So maybe that answers a little bit to the vision question, but this is the ambition here. So, yes?
How it will be evaluated if we created finally the youth hub, the community hub?
Well, this is through evaluation reports. We will design surveys. We will look at different criteria which we will analyze, and they are not designed yet. But there is even in each P there's an evaluation report to be done, intermediate evaluation report. Then, as Tanya said, there's also these different levels. I mean, there's the commission, which is evaluation reports, once evaluation reports, and intermediate evaluation reports. But then the whole methodology is based on regular monitoring and evaluation, and there will be an evaluation of internally of your operational plan.
Okay.
So there's different levels.
But I want to ask about, for example, if in the first case we have the youth club, if in the community hub I can have the youth club, but with more and different activities, is it a community hub?
That is a good question. This is up to you to define. If the question will be like really simple. I mean, at the end of this or through this transformation, what changed? And this is a narrative which is going to be different in each community. This narrative is we're working now with this approach, and these are the things which changed. And maybe some people say nothing changed. yeah, okay, then this needs to be told, and why not? Yeah, so there's an ambition, and there is a methodology, and there is different interventions, and then we have to see how things also develop. It's not about us forcing. So this is the criteria. You community hub needs to have this, and this by the end of 2018 or whatever. So it doesn't work like this. It's a process-oriented thing, and the projects also you will develop in your community have nothing to do with the ones in Italy or somewhere else. Maybe there's also a common project. I mean, yeah. We need to leave? Okay. So we need to leave, apparently. So
we can have a coffee break now.
We can have a coffee.
Yeah, we need to eat something.
It was a youth center has been a youth center for 70 years. That is after World War II, from 1945. Always the same destination. And it's located it was located in the east part of West Berlin, that is close to the wall. It's very marginalized part of Berlin, a community with many problems, very poor, jobless.
Migrants and post-education.
Yes. And also a community who changed recently and became gentrified, so that there are both all these problems and at the same time bourgeoisie, the new rich people. The NGO works with young people, setting a framework of rules, which are three basically, three pillars of their working, which are not be violent, not be racist, and having respect for everybody, which are very broad. And inside this, they said they
and no drugs.
And no drugs.
Oh, no drugs.
Yes. And they said they agreed on specific rules and about behavior in the structure with the young people who are going there. Until some years ago, I don't remember how many, it was directly run by the municipality. It was there were public servants, while now it's run by an NGO. They are, as far as their professionality is concerned, they are, they are, no, the two people, they are
social worker.
yes, pedagogists. Didn't come to my mind. They said 20 times, but they are pedagogists. And they work with other people, in our opinion, with some limits to participation. That is that they give to young people small and specific responsibilities on things they do. There is not a sort of career, so to speak, of young people that they can grow and take more general responsibilities in the place, because they said that it didn't work. It doesn't work according to their culture. They have this culture where big are big and say to the other what to do and have a power against the smaller, so that this doesn't work. They are not alone in the place, because there are at least 20 other clubs, youth clubs, but they don't collaborate so much, in the sense that they speak to each other, they have, as far as we can understand, small collaborations, but they are scared about the competition, because they said if we have a joint project and maybe our youngster likes so much the other partner, they go on to the other partner. We don't have any young people anymore here, so there is this kind of competition about the target. So, and the city at the moment pays for the maintenance of the building and the wages of the two people, the two pedagogues, not for projects, if materials, nothing else, and they also fear that they are not going to pay. I mean, the public is not going to pay as much as now in the future because of money cuts. Yes. Then the beneficiaries of the place are in the majority victims of violence or racism in their daily life at school as well as at work. And they, generally speaking, they have a pedagogical approach to young people. Something else?
Okay. Thank you.
Was it any similar to something you know from your experience?
Yes, a lot. We have nothing of this in Romania. None.
For me, I think it's a limit of participation, that the youngsters just said what they want to do, but they don't want to organize it. Just do it for us and we will do it. You know, maybe this is the...
They had made this experience,
Yes.
yeah.
Do they have a theory of change? We do this and this and this, and we will obtain this or this because of... Do they have...
We didn't ask, right? We didn't ask that question.
Because, and to the other youth center, they don't evaluate their work as impact or social impact, or, and I'm interested about...
You would not know what to do there if they don't make any statistics.
Yeah, maybe.
No, I don't think.
Yeah, I guess she said they work very much with very basic things. Safety, you can come here, people listen to you, people talk to you, you can, you know, and they're very marginalized young people, and as she said, 95% are migrant backgrounds, nearly all of them are all Turkish or Arabic speaking, so they live a lot of racism in the community, in school, in everywhere.
So yes, she had this idea, which is one of the possible ideas, of course, of empowerment as a very individual one. So if you have, if you improve your way of staying with yourself and with the other and in the community, then this is already successful compared with the kind of young people that are there. I don't know, I'm not here, so I can't judge. Of course, I only have questions in my mind because I was wondering to which extent they just give up. I mean, they say, okay, with this kind of young people, it's not possible to go beyond this. Don't try. They have this culture, so no responsibility because when we did it, it was a disaster. I don't know. But if it's possible also to think that at least some of them can change more, can take more responsibility. I would have this idea personally, but of course I'm not working.
They seem very overwhelmed as well. I mean, they're pedagogues, and then they're kind of, we focus on this is our expertise, and this is already big success if we succeed in this low level. And we know project managers who, I mean, maybe she also, and we are already underpaid anyway, so, and they probably will cut more, so she was a bit defensive to, I don't have to do fundraising, it's even a scandal that people would suggest I have to do fundraising, so she was very kind of protective as well.
Well, also there are only two with 50 young people, so
it's 50 yes, it was 300 per year.
But I think that thought was not new to her mind, because she said that they tried certain things. They tried to empower them, take them one level higher, and then they had problems with the government, who they asked to involve young people in decision-making process, and then it didn't work out. And then the older were bullying the younger ones, and now they set the rules that they don't take part in pedagogical work. So these things, I guess it's also interesting to see that something is tried, and probably something doesn't work out, then you have to step back and again start from basic needs, and then maybe at some moment you can take the young people at the higher level.
Yes, I
What do
agree,
you
but
think?
what I was just thinking, that was suggested to me, is that even though you have to be realistic and to have expectations according to the real youngster you have with
Yes.
you, at the same time, I think that the idea you have of the young person you have in front of you is mirroring. So if I think that you are not able, you never will be able to do something. If I think that you are certainly going to get in troubles if I give you the key, you will. You will. You certainly will, and I never will give you the key again. So this was only my doubt when she spoke to us. But of course,
Makes sense.
without knowing the situation.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move to the second group.
We have 2 educators in this center. The average age is between 11, 12 and 20, 25 years old. They spend here 5 hours per day, which is approximately at the end 25 to 35 hours per week. Every week they meet 50 participants, 50 members of the community. The total in annual is 300. For 20 years, till 20 years ago, they didn't have neither one girl because of the gangs and all these things in the community. From 2010, it starts operated the center. It was referred that in the region, in the area, there are approximately 25 youth centers and 30 more NGOs. And what impressed me is that the members of this center have a migrant background in 95%, which I don't know how integrates migrants and the locals, and how locals can be a member of the community apart from living there. And the other thing is that most of them has a German passport in a percentage of 70%. In general, that was the figures. If you want to ask something or to clarify.
I want to clarify something very important. These are tomatoes.
How many?
Finger.
Did you count them?
I told you I'm in the wrong team. Cannot give you figures.
It's what is left from us, because we
Yes.
the most of majority.
Okay. Any questions, comments to this?
No, she said something about the number 95. She was questioning how those people get integrated in the community if they are only between themselves. I mean, like with migrant background and local, regional, local.
But that's a reflection of the community of Kreuzberg, also in a way.
But they said there are also high-level people that are not very mentioned here in these numbers.
Yeah, that's when we go out and think about broader society, then it becomes a problem. When you go out of your school, your family, your district, and meet the Germans, then yeah, that's a question.
So places, as you know, there is one big bubble in the P places, which is the final evaluation and sustainability. But what I want to talk about is what I started yesterday, and I want to continue with it, is this is this idea about community hubs. And because of several reasons, I want you to reflect on this, but I also, just a second, what I'm going to do is to actually put it there, because you might not be able to read it. Do you read it better on the screen? Yeah? It's maybe better. Huh? So, yesterday there was this question, so, but what is the vision of this whole project? Why are we doing this? Is also a very important question which came up several times. We need to understand why we're doing this, and we need to be able to explain to others why we are doing this, and we have to basically also need some kind of arguments or ideas to be able to explain to people why they should join this. And I think Janina asked for this pitch. Yeah? How do we explain partners what we're doing, why we're doing it, and why they should join the boat, basically. And part of the answer is in what I showed yesterday, but obviously this is going to be also very individual for each community, and it's also about your personal and personal vision and the vision of the group in your community. And what I explained yesterday was a little bit this thing which, this transformation which could happen through this project. So we have today a youth club, a youth center, or youth initiatives in your communities. We are trying to implement this cycle of change, to work with this methodology, and there will be potential results, potential side effects, and I put some of them here, but this is not a complete list. So we talked about empowerment, we talked about skills in social entrepreneurship, to look at projects and how we could add some entrepreneurship aspect to it. We talked about new partners you would gain. We talked about we talked about these connections you would have between you and what you're already doing right now and the community. So this invitation to, through also the situation analysis, to look into the community and see what resources are there, what issues, problems are there which we could react to, etc., etc. So I leave this up here, and there are different obvious side effects, results which could occur through this process, and which then at the end of this process would also define your community hub. And this is a part of the exercise at the end of this project in the P3, the places, and when we also when you are asked to write some kind of it's called the sustainability plan, which is a mini business plan for your community hub, but we're not going into detail with this because this will be, when will this be? In end of 2017, so we will be working with you on this. But the idea today is to understand that there should be some kind of transformation. There is one place or one these youth initiatives today, and what would they be at the end of this process? And this is where I would like to invite you to sit into the country groups or in the, and to basically discuss this vision. What vision do you have for this community hub? What kind of, what could it look like? What kind of changes would you imagine would have happened in this, through this process? What kind of changes would you like to see? And we're talking about visions. It's not about imposing something, but these visions I would like you to discuss in this group, maybe 20 minutes. And then Tanya is going to distribute some paper, blank paper. We don't want you to do another 15 minutes each presentation of the vision, but to actually create a symbol on this paper which would represent your vision of the community hub in your community. And then you present basically your vision, explaining this is the symbol and this is what this represents. So otherwise this will be very long presentations again. So that is what I would like to you to do.
We have no creative imagination, so I was thinking about people that are helping other people in order to reach their goals. So someone that plants a plant and the plant grows.
Right.
Simple. Quick.
But okay, you can make it a little bit longer.
I don't think 10 seconds more.
Let's say 15 seconds. But so when you think of your community hub, can you a little bit elaborate on what do you think will be, or what do you wish would be the changes that happen in this place or through this process? Yeah?
We have already some teams that we build them through non-formal education, and we think that through this process they improve themselves and their qualities. Yes. So having this base and the know-how and the knowledge, we believe, I believe, and we will discuss it when I go back to Athens, that we have a concrete base no matter how to pass our knowledge and our thoughts to the new generation, to some other people. And this could be a circle. Okay. We have already trained some youngsters on non-formal education, how to better understand themselves, and for those young people can train some others. And in my opinion, this can improve and make better their EQ, because through our educational system we have already been made how to think with our IQ, and we do not know about our emotions, our thoughts.
Right.
This is how it works, more or less.
Right, so here is a very strong focus on capacity building, we can hear. So your community hub is very much, your vision is very much focused on that aspect, which is great. Okay, so who goes next? Thank you very much.
This is what I hope it's able in our community, because a lot of youngsters from Roma people think they can change anything, but it's not true. Exactly. So that's
right. So very much on the individual.
Yes, but also it's like you in Slovak, it's differences between T and we. You as one person and you as a group. So it has two meanings in it. That you personally could do something, and also you as a group, as a community, can do something. So
great. Thank you very much.
Okay, so Tromica. And when we were speaking about the visions, we start with look at the point that in the locality of Tromica there are a lot of services, and we don't want a new one. So we have to transform these services and start with change of people, or changing of people who want to be only the beneficiaries, but the individuals. And our visions is, one of them is from the member of community to be a local resident. And it's mean that because our community is really close, and we work with these people, we want from them that they will be, like I said, a local resident, the part of the whole locality and who are interested in the policy, who are interested in some culture in the locality. So the vision is from the member of community to be a local resident. And the second vision for us, and I think it's more described in this symbol, it's not a symbol, but in this picture, that a lot of our youngsters or people, the community, born, grow and learn in the locality, and we want that they move for a job, for example, to another place, because I think that all of them think that they have to born, grow, work or not work, and that here, and it's wrong. So maybe this is describing of the picture.
There are two people running and one people asking for going on. This is a tapiro run, okay. The point is that the tapiro run is the standstill in the community, but is moving, okay, and is taking people somewhere. So you run and you make it to move, but you are also able to go somewhere to learn something. And if you are on, you are like recognized as individuals, as part of a group, and so you have sort of power also. And but the key point is that we are moving and we are changing and we are making people going like abroad and giving them opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you very much.
We want to, our vision is to expand, to Caliu be involved in the community as a community hub.
Wow.
And in a bidirectional way. So we will work with youngsters and they will work for the community and then they will come back not in youth club, in the community hub. I don't know if you understand me.
Yes.
Okay.
So more community oriented. They would become more community oriented.
Exactly. Yes.
And what they do as well in the youth. All right. Thank you.
Means young people with a big heart for belong. Why? Because the power of my community, I think, is the sense of belong. And we are many young that want to do for the community, but we haven't resource, we haven't money. But I think our power is this.
The heart.
After hearing what Federica said about a group that is always in moving as a model of changement, every one of our group could agree with. But we also added a step further to ask to ourselves why a young people should become part of the group. So we started talking about getting recognition, being, receiving dignity, identity, and a role of a part of the community. So my vision is an adult that shakes hands with a younger person as if they were happy to have accomplished something together.
Super. Thank you very much. So this kind of exercise you can do with young people, and it's I think also very important for them to understand why am I even sitting here? Why should I come to these meetings and where are we going? So the vision is I think a crucial point, and not in the P3. Yeah, it's again this is things we are going back and forth all the time. This is very interesting stuff for the very beginning of this process, I think. Do you have any comments, or maybe from Italy, from your experience with young people and defining a vision?
Well, it's the first step, of course. Without a vision, you don't know where you are going to. So this is, I think this exercise was not an exercise. For us it was interesting because we were speaking about real things, about our realities.
Yes.
In our case, I think it helped us to share thinking about what we are going to in reality now in this phase.
Yeah, and it's about also, it helps so much for your discourse. I mean, Janina, you asked for this famous pitch, how do I explain people what we're doing here, why we're doing things, what are we trying to do, and this exercise, I think, it's not us here to tell you this should be your pitch when you go back. This is what you should tell people why they should do this. It's very much coming, it needs to come from you, from your group, and this is very important. Yes, there is cycle of change, methodology, blah, blah, blah. This is clear, but this kind of vision, what you're trying to do, and what kind of changes you're trying to work on, this is something in which comes from your group. So,
yes, but in reality, the vision is part of the cycle of change, because methodologically it's the first step you take.
Excellent.
So to be able to go into the cycle.
Absolutely.
So it's not just thinking, but I mean it's still part of the methodology.
I have an observation to do that is methodological. Every time you, the trainers, gave us a task that was about visualizing something or do something creative in the group, while reporting the task, it was easier for us to pitch and to speak about it. That's something that really I noticed.
Thank you.
And I think we could bring this in our groups to improve our work.
Yes. And this goes in line with what we said, I think, several times for the trainer. So how am I going to do this with young people? So obviously, I mean, I just think now about the operational plan. I mean, obviously, you're not going to gather people, you put the metrics on the wall, and now you say, now we're going to do the operational plan. I mean, there's team building exercises to be done. There's people, there needs to trust to be built within the group. There's a lot of things, and I think this can be definitely, the whole program can be enriched by exercises, by best practice from the different partners. I mean, there's the exercise book, but that is where we, for example, could easily add a lot of these kind of exercises. But then we have, later we talk about exchange as well, how we exchange between us, and this is where a lot of things are also taking place in terms of peer exchange between trainers, between coordinators, and where you can learn from the others. And Tanya, you wanted to say also something?
Yes, I wanted to say about the methods that it is really inspiring to use visual methods, as we all know, and this is what I think young people will be excited most if they have a chance to express themselves in this way. And if you talk with them about their vision, you can also think very broadly and creatively how you want them to present. And we know that there were songs written about build your future or about and there can be new songs or rap or other pictures in another way coming if they have the opportunity to express themselves through feelings, symbols and words. And I think what counts for us as adults counts even more for young people and makes it easy and inspiring. And that's, for you, the inspiration to take into your groups. That's what I wanted to say.
You wanted to add something? No? Yes.
I had only a more general comment, which is that given what you were saying now, it's not just that you are sitting and then, okay, this is the vision, okay, let's go guys, in 2 days, let's have our plan, so of course it's not. and it's a long way, it's a long process. So what maybe I already said this, but now that we are almost at the end of the workshop, I say it again, what I would need more for all the other than for us, because as Italians, you know, we are already on our way. We already started the process, so this is not our problem now. But if I think of different places which are starting now, I think what it would be helpful is to be more realistic, or to try to, for instance, we use the arrow of time to have to say, okay, this project is going to end at half 2018. So what can we achieve? Which are the phases? How much time to have a group set? Of course, it can be, there is no rule about this. It's different in each country, but even though I think that having an idea of the phases and saying what could be our idea of expected results in 10 months, 1 year, will help to work, and also to not to be frustrated if things don't happen, and also to being able to monitor the process. So say, okay, and to visualize this.
Yes.
Also, what we also do with our groups, we always have our arrow on the wall. And I think we didn't work enough on this. What we really think it's possible, realistically possible, in all the different situations to achieve in this period of time.
Yeah, there is a timeline from the PPP project. Okay, that is we're going to look at it also this afternoon. What are going to be the next steps of the project? So this can be definitely help as an orientation to do this very exercise. What are the next steps and what kind of time frame are we? And then we have to see, is this realistic? Is this of course, by May 2017, there is a youth exchange where the trainers, come together again with the young people, which will be very interesting as well. And what we would like to see is that the stage operational plan is that most of the people are actually either have done it or are doing it or are on it. So this timeline will definitely help in this exercise. And then we have to see what were the challenges? Has it been possible to do in all of the communities or not, etc. But so timeline is important, and we will look at it this afternoon. So to see also what are the next steps and how we can support you. But this is another topic we're not going to discuss now, but later. There's many important aspects, but two of them are the final evaluation of the process, and you can see in your guidebook that there is this suggestion of making a final evaluation workshop. We will definitely, we're not going to talk too much today on how to do this workshop, etc. It's far down the line, and we will definitely work with you one-to-one. We have the youth exchange in between, and what we wanted to talk about or mention as well, but we're not going to go in depth either, is the sustainability plan, which is mentioned there as an intellectual output. And the sustainability plan is some kind of a mini business plan on how can we sustain this community hub. Again, it's not the time today to talk about that and explain you how to do this kind of sustainability plan, because it's in 2018. It is, first step is actually going through the process, defining what is this community hub now, what has it become, and then we talk about this. What we wanted to look at, however, is something related to the final evaluation in these P3 places, because it's also linked to a very first step, which is the situation analysis, and it is about how to basically optimize transform data and results you have found out, and in order to present them or to present them to different target groups and get the best out of it. Who knows this stupid show Pimp My Ride? Who knows it? Yeah, you know it, you know it, you know it. So it's obviously it's an American show of this rapper exhibit, and it's basically about people who subscribe or they write a letter. I have a very, very crappy car. Yeah, it's falling apart, and then there are some guys who bring this car into a garage and they tune it, totally exaggerated, and they do these super cars. Yeah. The reason I put this here is just to make a funny title. So Pimp Your Evaluation is the topic, and what we mean by this, it's also why not pimp your situation analysis. It's about you have collected data, you have made a final evaluation, and the exercise, once you have it, is also how can we present it to different stakeholders and in different forms. And there's a lot of different forms you can present data, and here is some examples, and later we would like to make a short exercise. So obviously what could be a result of a final evaluation or a situation analysis would be a report. Yeah. So you have seen this in many organizations. They do an annual report. So putting things into a document, documenting it with facts and figures into a report is a very classical way of presenting data, and it is used very often in organizations, and so that would be one way. But there's also other ways where, for example, you can see it, you could very well do a video on what actually happened in the process of your project. It could be also testimonies of people who actually tell a story on and which reflect the results of a project, or also who reflect, for example, if you do a situation analysis, what are the issues in the community. There is something, this here, it's facts and figures, it's a sheet, it's an example from our organizations where we asked the YEP local sites in the community about facts and figures. We made a very nice looking chart, and it only reflected facts and figures and not necessarily, yes?
So only one question, so to be clear where we are, in which phase. I mean, you mean to use the results of the evaluation that you have done with the group after the final evaluation, you present the data you have collected, you do the evaluation in the meeting with the group, and then you present to other stakeholders in the community, or which stage are you referring about? I'm not clear about it.
Yes, because we are in P3, and this is what I'm referring to. What I also added to, what I also said is, it's about presenting data. So what I'm saying here, that you can present results in different shapes and different formats, is also true for other data. For example, the situation analysis at the very beginning of this process, where you could have a report and the community maps, but you could also enrich it and add value to it by adding other elements, such as a sheet with only facts and figures, video reflecting some people talking about issues in the community, or interviews, and then another tool which is often used for both at the end of at the end of an evaluation or for the situation analysis are events where you present results or where you present results. Either situation analysis, but this also counts for final evaluation. So why would you use different formats? Because there's different stakeholders and there's different, these are different and creative ways to present data, basically. And this, for example, which we did, does not reflect many things. They are only facts and figures. But as an example, the Mod Foundation from the US, who fund us, they wanted facts and figures. And they went through our report, which is that thick, and where they really state, and which they still remember and always talk about, is that one-pager. Just as an example, because it's a very American way, but that just shows that, but there's also, there might be other stakeholders who are very much into narratives, who want to go deeper, who want to hear people from the community talk and explain what are the issues, or if it's the final evaluation, what has changed for them. So that is what I mean by this. It's just about forms of presenting, and then the events is the same thing as well. People want to, they don't want to read reports, but they want to go and talk to Angela. Okay, tell me about what happened in the last year in your work in Luano or whatever in the whole of Italy. So this is what I mean with different formats, and then there's of course other ones. Okay, and I asked you earlier on if you if you know this method of mind mapping, and who does know the method of mind mapping? Yes? Okay, good news. If you don't know it, then, or if you know it, then we would like to make a short exercise on and use this technique, mind mapping. So I would show you how it goes, and then I would ask you to do a mind map in 4 groups. Yeah. So a mind map basically is another tool of. It's a creativity tool. It's another way of doing a brainstorming, and it is basically starting with the center question, so to speak. What are we gonna brainstorm about, and what is the initial starting point? And in this case, it's, for example, the evaluation results we have gathered, or as I said, it is very much possible to do also with your situation analysis, with the data you have gathered in the situation analysis. So doing a mind map would, for example, say, we definitely need a report. Yes, and then what is interesting in the mind map is also to do little symbols, and then you actually continue your brainstorming. For the report, I need basically, what do I need? I have to, for example, think of emailing it to the different stakeholders. Yeah, stakeholders. Then from there, I have maybe different types of stakeholders. I have the young people. I might have the people from the all the NGO sectors, and maybe when you write these emails, this will be also different approaches. Yeah. So in this email, you are more funky than maybe to the NGOs when you address them, and another could be the sending it by mail. Yeah. Mail to the municipality, etc. So this can then continue like that. The other idea, if we take this for example, could be that what is also important in our results is really to listen to people and hear their voice and their stories. So you could say, we want to do a short video reflecting also aspects of these results. So video, we need to have the whatever Paul, the video guy. We have to ask him if he can do it. We need a camera, yeah, and we need to get the people. We need at least 3 young people who talk, and we need 5 stakeholder, etc., etc. And you go crazy. There's no rule. It's really also about brainstorming and putting errors which are linked to that topic. And then it continues. If you want to do an event to present these results, what do? You need to invite. You need invitations. You need a list of people who to invite. You need a room, obviously. Blah 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 blah. So this continues, and this is a way to basically brainstorm on your own. I actually do mind maps on my own when I brainstorm about things, and you can very well do it in a group as well. So this is the technique. It's straightforward, and you can also add symbols, a camera, blah blah blah. Basically there is also a lot of videos on YouTube. You can watch it. You can watch it in your local language. If you do this with young people, you have this in 100 languages, and can actually also maybe explain it to them in their own local language. So, is there any questions? Do you want to try it out? Do you want to play with it? Do you want to do it? Yeah? So, 4 groups, mixed groups. 1, 2, 3, yeah? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, Angela 2, Mihai 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is table 1, table 2, table 3, table 4. Here it was about the evaluation results of the operational plan, but try to do one on a step which is much closer to us, which is the situation analysis. You have done the situation analysis, you have gathered all these data from the community. How would you now look at ways to present this, to get this to the people, or to present this result?
So it's about youngsters, the social workers already on the area. The focus group stands for different possible local stakeholder circle, and here are the statistics and the documents we can just read. So we want to ask the youngster about their needs with surveys and workshops like consciousness about their needs, like activities, okay? And we want to do interviews with social workers. And for the focus group, we want to listen to the possible stakeholder circle with the focus group. So we wrote that we will need a group leader, a place, and we will send invitation by emails, phone calls, and by going to events where they can be. And we want to read the documents that already exist, like statistics and monographics about the social and economic situation. Yeah.
Right. So this is how you would do the situation analysis. All right. So the question was, how would you want it done? How would you present it? It doesn't matter. The exercise was also to get familiar with mind mapping. And you misunderstood the question, but it doesn't matter. You had a question in mind and did a mind map on how would you create, because you can very much do a mind map on this question. what do we need for our situation analysis, where do we go and get resources. So it's like a brainstorming, but in a more visual form. Yes, Angela?
But you could, I don't know, answer both questions, just adding, organizing it in a different way, and adding how can one development is how do I want to do it, so with all these elements, and the other one, the other branch is
Absolutely.
How do I
Present it
present
later.
it, so
Excellent.
you have everything
Exactly.
in one map.
Yes. Yes, there is no rule. I mean, this is the thing. It's a reflection of your brain, of what you come up with in your thinking, in your brainstorming, and your discussion. So, exactly, you could have different. How do I create it? One thing, and how do I create it could be one branch, and another one, how do I present it? Another branch is who is the target group. Another branch is only focused on media. What media will I use? So again, this is
neuronal connections.
Yes. Great. Thank you very much.
So at first we start with the presentation at the public transport. I mean, for example, in our locality there is a little TV where you can see some advertising, something like this. So maybe you can show the results of your analysis, and you catch another potential partnership to your local stakeholders. And of course by the TV in the bus, or by some papers up to the window. The second one was if you have some crazy friend who has a music band, he can make some song to sing it about your results. And of course make a concert. Yes, it's a joke, but maybe you can take some point from that. Yes, and during this you can take a little presentation about what he is singing. Yes.
I think hip-hop already does.
Yes, yes. So something like this. And it is according or in the connection with the Netflix, but I'm not really don't know or sure what is it.
We are going to Netflix to convince them to contract a very good movie writer and a very director and a famous actors and actors to do a film, a movie.
Penelope.
Maybe. And the situation analysis will be known around the world.
Okay.
And the last one is a pop's friend, and it's really informal, but maybe really realistic, because when you are sitting in the bar with your friends, they have another friends and another friends, and from a lot of sectors. So maybe if you with the peer speak about your problems and your situation analysis, blah, 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 in your way with the beer, they can tell it to another one, so you can spread the word. Yes. And I think it's a good way how to do it.
Yes. We need a budget for the pub.
Yeah, and sometimes, as you say, you call them crazy ideas, but while you brainstorm, sometimes it's then also about selecting which are the good ones, and it's not about discriminating any idea in the beginning. The music idea is not so crazy. I mean, there's so many songwriters who do songs about social issues in the community, which could be like a reflection of what you found out in the situation. It's not that crazy. The Netflix maybe a little bit more, but why not? And it's also.
Can talk about it.
I suggest you to try. Nah, I don't want to judge it. So.
So we put in the rules the needs of the community, the interviews with young people, research. We thought that we could listen to people to attend or to teach in seminars about relevant issues for the community, like giving instruments to enter in, to find a job if there's an issue with jobs. And we also thought that one of our branches should be the resources we we need or we can collect. Then the branches developed the instruments we could use to share the results of the analysis. We put the internet, and then we put a leave for any instrument with the internet we could use. Emails, social media, specific sites dedicated to the argument, and in a leaf is proud a flower about the idea of having a very visual instrument about it. Just an Instagram gallery, just about pictures of the works we have from the situation analysis. We thought we could have printed leaflets to distribute, and in the leaves there's a leaflet about facts and figures, as in the exercise we did. We thought we could have a press release, so to involve journals about our research, have ready video to involve TV, have events, and in the branch events, the leaves were about the people who can participate to the events. So stakeholders, people we think we could be possible partners, people who just cares about the matter of our researches, but also people who could be vocal about the problems we analyzed. Janina brought the example of having a Roma person speaking to a broader audience about Roma community issues. Then we thought the root of the seminar could sprout a branch about seminar itself, because we can have seminars in which we share the result of our analysis.